Well, hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today in this seminar. I would first like to begin by introducing myself and my colleague. My name is Silvia Mendoza-Villalovos, and joining us later throughout in the presentation is Stanley Zervas. Oh, there he is. All right, and today we will be going over the rapid response and treatment plan for the Glassy-Winged sharpshooter in Solano County. I think it was already mentioned previously, both Stanley and I are agricultural biologist inspectors at Solano County. And if time allows at the end, we will be answering questions. All right, and just to clarify, throughout this presentation, we will be referring to the Glassy-Winged sharpshooter as GWIS. So if we're switching back and forth, just be aware of that. All right, so the Glassy-Winged sharpshooter, or GWIS, is a relatively large leafhopper. It's about 1/2 inch long. It has 3 life stages: egg, nymph, and adult, with the adults having very transparent wings with reddish bangs, hence the name Glassy-Winged. They overwinter as adults, and they also feed on a wide variety of ornamental and crop plants. GWIS is a significant threat to California vineyards due to its ability to spread the bacterium that causes Pierce's disease on grapevines. I'm sure many of you are aware. Pierce's disease is a fatal disease of grapevines caused by a strain of the bacterium known as Xylella fastidiosa. All right, here we have the GWIS native range. GWIS is native to the southeastern United States and northeastern Mexico. GWIS was first reported in California in 1994, and it likely entered the state of California in the late 1980s as egg masses on ornamental plant foliage. Here is Solano County outlined, along with its neighboring and nearby counties. Okay, shown here on the left are areas where Pierce's disease has been reported in California, shown in this like teal green color. And also that's including Solano right here. I know it's hard to see. The map on the right shows areas that are infested with GWIS in blue, eradicated areas in red. It just shows little dots here throughout the map, as well as counties at risk for Pierce's disease and or GWIS in green. It was difficult to see, but after zooming in into Solano County right here, you can see this little blue dot, which represents the GWIS infested area that's the most current at the moment. Okay. Due to the large host range, GWIS can also threaten a different number of other commodities, not just grapevines. So you can see here, almonds, nursery products, and alfalfa are examples of such commodities, which are also grown in our county. GWIS is a major pest of concern due again to its ability to spread the bacterium Xylella fastidiosa. Various strains of this bacterium can cause oleander and almond leaf scorch, alfalfa and dwarf disease, and citrus variegated chlorosis. All right, picture here, this star represents our find sites, which is surrounded, I'll explain here, all this purple are grape growing region areas. So you can see here, San Joaquin County, Napa County, Sonoma County. And this just represents all the surrounding grape growing county or locations. It's very close to our finds. Okay. So at the end of the trapping season of last year, 2021, We did encounter a find of GWIS at 3 different locations. There was a positive GWIS find on September 16th of 2021 at a retail nursery location in Fairfield. A higher concentration of detection traps were placed near that one find with no additional finds. So it was determined that that GWIS or that glassy-winged sharpshooter was most likely a hitchhiker from the Southern California nursery stock shipment. Up here is Vacaville. GWIS was also detected in a Vacaville residential area at 2 separate locations on a Friday of October 1st, 2021. In the Vacaville residential area, 5 GWIS were initially detected on 2 separate urban pest detection traps, which then triggered a delimitation. And visual surveys began the following morning after the finds were confirmed to be GWIS. All right, these 2 dots here, they show the 2 locations of where the 5 glassy-winged sharpshooter adults were initially detected on October 1st of 2021. 3 adult GWIS were detected on 1 trap, and the other 2 GWIS were detected on a 2nd trap. Also, from this image on the left, you can see that it's mainly all residential area, surrounded by hills and fields with no large wholesale nurseries. All right, again, here we can see the 2 locations of where GWIS was initially detected, with added quarter-mile radius circles for each location. CDFA was able to provide a positive identification of GWIS, which then triggered a delimitation in the beginning of visual surveys. Kudos to the CDFA entomology lab for providing a quick and rapid positive identification the same day as the finds. This then allowed the department to proceed and conduct visual survey inspections the following Saturday morning. I'd like to emphasize Saturday. We were out there on the weekend. It was evident that on the first day of visual surveys, we were going to need a tool to track the finds and surveys, as well as additional visual survey support. We were able to develop a GIS platform to track our data. Also, as you can imagine, there was an overwhelming quantity of properties that required visual survey inspections. And one of the major challenges we faced was covering those areas with just our staff numbers. So we would like to give a special thanks to the counties that came out to help. That includes Napa County, Yolo County, and Contra Costa County. Okay, shown here are finds with quarter-mile radius survey circles from last year, October to December 2021. At this point in the project, we had detected 51 adults, 14 nymphs, and 55 egg masses. Okay. Here's just a snapshot of our most current visual survey radius circles, since we've had some expand a little south from where original finds were. And all right, next up is my colleague Stanley, and he will be going over our treatment response plan. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Silvia. Good morning, everybody. So the treatment protocol is one that's been used for many years throughout California on other finds. It's a joint program between CDFA, the County Ag Commissioners, and USDA. You'll see the categories it covers. For those of you who are grape growers and you pay your PD GWIS assessment amount, thank you, because that's what's funding all of this. It has been helpful for us when talking with homeowners and explaining why we're doing all this treatment to protect agriculture they'll ask me, why are we using tax dollars to protect Napa? And I can say, well, it's not tax dollars, it's industry dollars. Once the delimitation was complete, then the CDFA established a quarantine boundary. Remember, the fines are really in this neighborhood sort of here, but they drew a larger boundary. Luckily, nothing in there is commercial agriculture or nurseries, so we don't have to worry about the movement of fruit or plants in and out of there. For those of you who know Vacaville, that's the Nut Tree Shopping Center on I-80. That's right up in that corner there. Once that proclamation was made that we had an official emergency, that gives us the authority to come in and do the treatments and do what we need to do to get the eradication started. So the treatment plan is that any property where we find an active WIS, a live WIS, gets a foliar treatment. Also, adjacent properties get a foliar treatment. And then in addition, we do a soil applied treatment on those properties and any property within 150 meters. The idea there is we've surrounded the find with treated plants so that if it does attempt to move, it would get within feet on a treated plant. Also, biocontrol, which we'll talk about later. Before this started, we did public meetings to talk to the neighborhoods to see so they knew what was going on. This is an example of a foliar in a park. We use an outside pest control business that has a lot more experience in this than we do. But one of us is always with them to make sure we can deal with the public and to check and make sure they're doing the right thing and determine what plant is a host and what plant isn't. You'll see a yellow sticker trap right there. These are the products that we are using. Merit and Cortec are both imidacloprid products. You would probably know them as Admire or in the soil or Provato foliarly. Tempo is Baythroid, and Altus is something in agriculture called Silvanta, which I'm not that familiar with. We did find in doing those initial delims, especially that first Saturday, is that knocking on people's doors with a sweet net in your hand, they don't know who you are and they often don't answer the door, or they're quite confused. So we've moved more to an advanced notification that we are coming on such and such day. That gives people a chance to call in and discuss or schedule something that works for them. So right now, if you live in that neighborhood, you get a little posting saying, we're coming to treat. Please call us if you have questions. If we don't hear from you, then we assume that you consent to have us enter the property. Leave your back gates open, we'll come in and take care of it. Not everybody responds, and not everyone leaves their back gates unlocked. But so treatment progress. This is our GIS platform on the left. Anything that's brownish has been treated. Yellowish have received foliar and soil treatments. Red have received nothing. We'll come back to that later. This is an example. Well, it's a picture of a soil application. So the crew has a backpack full of solution with a hose going to a probe. The probe has holes in it. You stick it about 6 inches in the ground. A little pump, you pump, and you put the imidacloprid solution right in the root zone of the plant. The number of pumps and the number of pokes all depend on the diameter of the tree. The blue circles are all the 150 meter radius of around a find. So that circle there would have been a find right in the middle of it. They all start to overlap after a while. But anything you see highlighted in blues is our treatment zone. Anything you see in red is a treatment refusal. That's either someone who said flat out, you can't come on my property, or someone who never responded but kept their gates locked. It's about a 12% refusal rate at this point. One of the reasons for these circles of treatment is we're trying to surround the GWIS vines and keep them contained while we then go in and speed out the last remaining ones. Areas where you have multiple properties backing up that have refused are of higher concern. We don't know if Bliss is hanging out there or not, but we do have traps surrounding them. Try to pick them up. The latest area Silvia mentioned has been this area down, this neighborhood here. They sort of crept a little bit south of the original find site. Biocontrol releases have been done everywhere you see an orange dot. CDFA sends us wasps as they can. We've released 4,355 places. These are both egg parasitoids. They were Gonatoceras, now it's Cosmocomoides, Morelli, and Ashmedi. The media came out, of course. Remember, egg parasitoids, they lay their egg in the glassy-winged sharpshooter egg. All of the immature stages of the wasp happen inside that egg, so you don't see them. They chew a nice little uniform hole, and they emerge again as adults and go on to do their thing. Silvia is really good with the iPhone camera, and these are actual egg masses we recovered with exit holes. Each one of those holes was an egg and a parasite. These were not found exactly where we released them. They were found a few houses away. So we know that they're out there searching and moving around. No, parasites will never completely eradicate this. It just doesn't happen with this. But we're using them to reduce the overall numbers of growths and to help us in those refusal areas where treatment hasn't been possible. Here they are, actual size. Every dot you see on this map is a trap. Blue ones don't move, red ones shuffle around through the season. It's a big job to keep them all in play. It's currently 205 traps. Yellow sticky panel traps you're familiar with because we use them in vineyards, I think. We don't have a pheromone trap because wisps don't communicate with pheromones. They use sound to communicate. So these are visual traps. They're attracted to yellow. Placement is important because they're out in the sun and visible to passing wisps. When we get a find of wisp on a trap, it's not clear whether it came exactly from that property or was flying by. These traps will stay up through the winter. As Silvia mentioned, the GIS platform has been really valuable to let us collect data. I can look at this in the field on my iPad. I can pull up any property and see what happened, when it happened. I can't memorize all 800 homes that were treated, so it's sort of my memory bank or our memory bank. Again, these large circles were the delimitation circles. I'm going to point out that when we talk about visual surveys, that means us walking out there with sweep nets, knocking on doors, literally beating the bushes, and looking at leaves and flipping over leaves to find this. It's time consuming, but it's kind of interesting. So those are the records. This will also serve as our historic record of what happened in the past, and it allows us to communicate with CDFA and anyone else to pull up these maps and show you graphically what's going on. This is just a graph of adults, both in traps and in survey. So this was our October of 21 last year, a big push where we found a lot. They go quiet in the winter. Wisps don't really hibernate, they just sort of hang out and feed a little bit and wait. There was a little bump of activity in late January, early February that coincided with the heat wave. Wisps overwinter as adults, emerge in the spring, lay eggs. This is really rough data, but I would guess that this is your first generation of adults coming out in June and your second generation coming out in September. So October 21, 48, October 22, 8. So not eradicated, but the numbers are moving in the correct direction. So what's next? This week, we're revisiting our refusal properties to talk with them and see, can we talk about this? We've had 4 people so far change their mind and say, yes, you can treat. We're also scheduling our next round of soil injections. So all properties treated in 2022, we're going to go back to all those with the soil applied treatment. Those soil treatments last longer and have less chance of exposure and are more acceptable to the public. We'd like to get them all done before bloom starts because these products have issues with bees, so we'll avoid the bees. And this year the traps stay up all winter. Normally we reduce the number of traps in the winter. So, questions?
Thank you for that great presentation. I actually have a quick question. There are some questions in the Q&A, but how do you feel? We have the PD GWIS board that's able to offer funding for this quick response. How do you feel that's different than if PD GWIS board didn't exist? Your ability to respond, how much quicker do you feel that you're able to go after this invasive in comparison to if it did not exist, if the funding wasn't there?
So when it came, this is a good story. My first day here at this department was the Monday following that Saturday. So they walked in and handed me a sweep net and said, get out there. It's time consuming. So everyone got pulled off of all of the programs to do GWIS, and other counties came to help us. That's a big hit to workflow and to budget. And I do remember the commissioner saying, well, just go do it. We'll ask you to do GWIS for the money, and the money's there. So having that knowledge that the money's there meant we could go out and get started and do it and not have to seek budget approval or seek funding or seek things. What's showing in the background is a little video Silvia took of a GWIS actually emerging from an egg mass. Remember, if it was a parasite, you have a nice hole. If it's a GWIS, it sort of blows the side out and comes out. That was just luck we caught this guy in the act. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
So yes, having the funding there is it really means we can just go out and get started and not have to go seek the funding, because no county's department is large enough to do this immediately alone without help.
We were just at a presentation yesterday on forming Sonoma County Pest Control District and the pros and cons. One of the pros is obviously having funds available, readily available to respond to an invasive species when it arrives. And so that's good to hear. I'm going to pass this on to Michelle. You do have some questions.
Yeah, so the first question is, are you still detecting GWIS on properties that have refused treatment?
No, I'm detecting them on properties that have been treated, which is sort of frustrating. Although last one was, I think I can say this, last week, not in a new area, in the same area we've been working. So like I said, when they show up in a trap, you don't know if it came from that tree or if it flew by. So if it's a trap that's near refusals, then I think, well, it probably came from that refusal. If it's a trap in an area where we don't have refusals and we treated everything, then we're sort of scratching our head. That's where we're at with that.
Yeah, the next question is, can you repeat the numbers of adult glassy-winged sharpshooter found so far in Solano? Also the egg masses as well.
The total number? Sorry, I have to go back a lot. It's gonna take a while. It was a big push there in the beginning, as I said, and then it sort of trickles out. So this at the end of 21 was 51 adults, 14 and 65 egg masses. A lot of what we found in 2022 are old egg masses, because a lot of this is on citrus and that scar remains. So I find an egg mass that hatched out. I don't know when that hatched. Was it last week? Was it 6 months ago? So adults and nymphs are probably a better category. So I think our total number is 84 adults, 84 adults between last year and this year. Egg masses, it's a huge number if you're counting the historical, the ones that have hatched out already.
Thank you. How do you avoid killing the parasitic wasps? They drink nectar and are being released into an area with flowering plants treated with systemic and foliar insecticides.
It's a very good question. I try to release the parasites in areas where I haven't done foliar treatments or haven't had to need to do foliar treatments. Also, some of these refusal properties have allowed us to release parasitoids, so we'll release them on an area that's not treated. probably have killed some of them with foliar, to be honest, but we still release them. The idea is that we'd rather release them and try than not do it.
Can the eradication succeed with so many treatment refusals?
So other counties have gone through this whole process with before, and what they report is it sometimes takes a couple of years, but eventually they get eradicated. Eradicated for us means an entire trapping season where we don't trap them or don't find them. It's worked
Is that, oh, go on, sorry.
worked before, and this refusal rate's not unusual. And CDFA does this because I think everyone can understand if you force your way in with the police beside you, it doesn't go well overall. And it's really much more effective to do things cooperatively.
The next question is there an organic chemical control option you can offer to reluctant homeowners?
I talked to Monica Cooper, and I think Cindy probably got drug into that concept. You could try Pyganic, but any of you use Pyganic with leafhoppers know how that goes. We talked about surround applications. Those have been discussed. CDFA has to approve of anything. CDFA and DPR have to approve of anything we do. So it's an ongoing discussion. We don't have anything right now to offer somebody. We're hoping to have something in the future.
What chemical will be used for treatments if, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Cindy, you're muted, but you're saying it. I don't know how to
What
pronounce it.
chemical will be used for treatments if imidacloprid is banned?
Oh, that was a concern, because that came up. I don't know. There is this pest control operator we work with was very nervous about that potential banning of imidacloprid because they do a lot of treatments for homeowners throughout the county for aphids mostly. And these are imidacloprid. There is another product, I don't know the name of it, but it's about 5 times more expensive than imidacloprid. So they said, well, we could keep doing this, but it's going to be a different cost.
Okay, the last question.
Have you tested any well water in the area of these soil treatments?
No
well water, but there is water testing.
There is water testing there's some surface water nearby. We don't go right into riparian areas, and we don't go into anything that's standing water. And the injection is really 6 inches deep. So I think you have to have a lot of rain. And these are mostly clay soil, so I don't think they're highly reachable. But the answer is no, we've not tested well water.